Are we labelizing this show or are we just chilling? Is this Ruben and Rel or Rel and Ruben show? What is this
Hey, we got,
podcast? What is it?
yeah.
And Breezy, you coming up with the names or no? Last thing. Oh no, we good. That would be a dope
Yeah.
tortoise in the hair.
I still don't know what that is, but okay.
I'm the
I'm gonna go.
turtle.
I'm gonna go YouTube it.
I'm the turtle. I'm the turtle. You the rabbit. That's pretty
O-
much what it is in a nutshell. And
Okay.
basically, what I mean by that is, you move very fast. I move very slow. I'm more calculated. You would rather. Yeah, you take no, we both take risks. I just feel like my risk is like if I fall at this angle and you just like, yo, we just gonna jump. And whatever happens, happens. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Which is a good thing. I think it's like, yin into the yang as opposed to both of us. Because if we both was the tortoise or both was the hare, we either be
Right.
going somewhere fast, nowhere fast, or nowhere at all.
Well, I wasn't. I wasn't always like that. The biggest reason why I was like that when I first started, I was real scared to like jump off.
Yeah.
So when I first started like my healthcare company, I started off in like my bedroom.
Hmm.
And one of my homeboys was working with me, and I was telling him, I was like, man, I said, we keep doing this, like I need to make this step, I need to go get a new spot. Nah, man, let's just stack our money, let's just stack our money, let's just stack our money,
Yeah.
and then we'll go. And I'm like, bro, like I don't feel comfortable, like we have to start hiring people. So
Okay.
we was having to go rent South Mountain Community College to hold the interviews there.
All right, so let's back up just a little bit. What is it that you actually do? What is your form of business?
That's a loaded question.
Well, the one that you were referring to as of now, right now, what business are you referring to?
Healthcare business.
Healthcare. And what is it that you actually do in healthcare?
Do a little bit of everything, man. I work with the state of Arizona. So I have teen homes. We do foster care. We do in-home care. We have summer programs for autistic kids.
Okay.
So yeah, we do a little bit of everything.
And how long have you been in that business and when did you get started?
Um, whew. I've been in the business since 2001.
2001. So now that's almost, God, dang, that's
Yeah.
22 years.
Yeah.
22 years.
Yeah. And then I started my business in 2010. And as a small like independent contractor.
Okay, so from 2001 to 2009 was building,
Yeah.
structuring.
I was working with other different agencies and companies and just kind of learning like all of the back end of everything
Okay.
and just was taking notes as I was going through it.
And so along the way, you gather up all of this information, which in that case, tortoise in the hare, you was the turtle in this moment,
Yes.
and you was just learning everything.
Right.
And then eventually, you hit the finish line because what happens is the turtle hit the finish line, and then the
Okay.
turtle really is the one that kind of get the glow up.
Right.
So you got the glow up, or you started the business on your own 2010,
Right.
and then from 2010 to now 2023. Now, how has success been for you?
So that's what I was just, and I'm glad you asked that. So it happened like, so 2010 to 2012, I was still doing stuff kind of halfway doing it in the house or whatever. So then eventually, my boy was just like, man, let's just wait, let's just wait, let's just wait. And I was like, man, I was like, bro, keep waiting. Like so much stuff gonna happen. Like to me, when you keep waiting, life happens.
Yeah.
A family member can die. This can happen. That can happen.
So
So I
this
was just
is
like,
this
bro,
is
like I
this is
just
I'm
gotta
sorry.
go.
Yeah, yeah. So this is when you turn into the hair.
Yeah. So I was just like, man, I just gotta go. So I was nervous. Everybody was like, my mom was like, don't do it, don't do it. So just something in me was like, bro, like you gotta do it. So I was like, forget it. So I went against what everybody else said.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped off the porch. I went and got my first building. It was like 1,100 square feet. Went and got my first building, and then everybody was like, when I got it, like it was a lot of pressure at first because
Yeah.
it was like, man, like we can't spend this, and it was like, man, I can't pay you this much, and everybody was like, see, that's why I told you don't do this. That's why I told you don't do it. You went and jumped out there, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was hurtful a little bit because a lot of people left my corner at that time because they was like, you should have listened to me.
Yeah.
And then, I got the space, and then finally I just said, forget it. It's me against everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I kept grinding and grinding. After the first year and a half, I opened up my second department, and I outgrew that location.
Mm.
So it was like 1,400 square feet. So then I moved out that location because I outgrew it, and I went to my next location. So I went from like 1,400 square feet, I doubled it. So my new location I got now
28.
is about 32 to 3,400 square feet.
Okay, so
So then I got that. So now I've added another department as well. And now I actually went behind that location and got two more spots.
yeah.
And now I'm actually outgrowing where I'm at now.
Mm.
So to me, I've took that mentality and moved on. So if I'd have listened to those other people
You would
and
still be
not
in
jumped
Georgia.
off that porch and not did it, then I don't know where I'd be at right now. So since I did that, my mentality since then is just go for it. And
So it's
whatever
go, go,
happens,
go.
happen.
And so you said two key things, and we got questions. We got questions. So I want to make sure that we stay on point, and I'll
Okay.
give my backstory and then let you ask me about me as well too. But I just wanted to hit this key point before we change gears. Um, there's two things that you said, and I guess one thing you said was you lost a lot of people in your corner coming
Yeah.
up. Now, and I say that because like along the way when you grow, you're supposed to. Like
Right.
everybody can't take that elevator to the next level, right?
Right.
So, what did that teach you about people and about working? I assume when you start a business, majority of the time in every culture we work with our own,
Right.
right? So I assume, and I may could be wrong, but
Right.
I assume they were like-minded people,
Right.
black people in a
Yes.
sense.
Yes.
And so, what have you learned working with your own people along that process? And I say that because it could be family, it could be friends. Anybody in that inner circle is always different from working outside of that. So,
Right.
how was that for you?
It was tough, man, because, and I know a lot of people is going to disagree with it, but my personal experience is it's tough, especially working with your own people because I feel like a lot of times it's always competition amongst us.
Mm,
And instead of us trying to work together to create something special and create something for the better good, it's always like, oh, I'm looking at what you're doing. So, in my sense, it's my idea. I started it. I'm putting majority of it in it and say you coming in the back end.
yeah,
Now you looking at it as in, oh, you making this much. I need to make the same thing you're making.
yeah,
But it's like I've been doing this for 20 some odd years.
yeah,
You just coming 2 years in, and
yeah,
now you want to be eating the same way I'm eating
yeah. Just because we cool.
just because we cool. And it just I think the mentality is just so different.
Yeah.
And then I think another big thing is a lot of people don't understand the word sacrifice and what that means.
Yes. And that's a big one. That's a big one. Well, I'll give you a little bit backstory on me, just to transition a little bit. I'm a photographer, videographer. I started doing photography 2008. So this is before the digital era of cameras, hybrid cameras, which is they record and shoot photos. And I was a music artist originally. So back in college, music artist, I was in a rap group and we was doing our thing. Wanted to sign to a record label. The label gave us this garbage deal, and that's when my business side of me came out. Now, I'm not gonna throw no shots in there or whatever, but at the time, I'm big on listening to artists that actually have something to say. And Jay Z, as you all know, is and I knew he was gonna say that, but Jay Z is one of my favorite artists. And from the business side of things, I always paid attention to what he said about that. Nobody
Okay.
gave us ish, we made us, and so certain lines that he would say. And so in that scenario, being a music artist, it was like one of those things where like we go in trying to be a music artist, but never learn the business side of things. And so I remember when we was younger we had to have studio time and all of this type of stuff, and we didn't have no studio to go to at the time. We would go to the radio station late at night to record our projects, and we'd get like 2 hours in. We would have to go at like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning to record like two songs. So what I did was I took my little refund check. You know how they give you a refund check that you
Mm-hmm.
still got to pay back student loans, but you get your refund check, and I took that and I bought a computer, and I went to Walmart, bought me a little microphone, all of that type of stuff, and I started, building something outside of the studio. And I
Okay.
call it Closet Studios because in your studio you'll take all your clothes, turn that into soundproof, and put the microphone in the closet, and you start recording. At that
Mm.
point, it started to get better, and so my mind started to shift to being behind things instead of just in front of things. But because being a creative, you kind of want to juggle both. So one thing led to another thing. I ended up we turned down a deal, and all of a sudden we needed to fund everything else. So that's when the hustle in me came out. It's like, all right, I'm about to start campus car wash, campus cuts. I mean, I was doing everything to make bread to invest.
Gotcha.
So then at that point, I just got cameras. I was just like, we'll shoot our own music videos, and hopefully record labels will see that, and then they'll pick it up. And when I started doing that, that's when Always Timeless kind of formed. Because it was just like I was doing it out of a necessity, and
Mm-hmm.
then it actually turned into a passion. And then from there, I just started helping people out, and then it grew. And so when I left Virginia for Arizona to go to school for music engineering, at that time, I was an established artist doing all right, but I was still doing photography on the side just to make money because I figured I could do photography and I could do music, and that'd be it. And
Right.
so it started taking off, and then all of a sudden it turned into a business. And then from there, I started working real jobs, and I doubled my salary. I doubled my salary at my real job, and I was just like, off of a camera, I doubled my salary. Now back then, coming straight off of college, your salary is about 40, 50 grand, so it ain't a lot. You get what I'm saying? But at the point where you can double it off a little camera, you
Right.
figure out that you can turn this into a business. So now, at this point, I've been in business professionally or as a standalone business since 2013. So it's about 10 years now,
Okay.
and I mean,
So so the name of your company is Always
Timeless
Timeless Productions.
Productions.
So when you're saying productions, like what does that entail?
So originally it was music, and then it
Okay.
was photography,
Okay.
and then it was video, and I went to school for graphic designing. So my four structures is photography, videography, music production, and graphic designing. So it was like a one-stop shop for music artists. So you can come in, you can record your whole project, I can shoot your whole album cover, I can create your whole album cover, and then we can.
So it really started off with music and
That's it.
now
That's it.
but you don't even do music no more.
I do, but now I have my own music camps where I do it with other kids, and I still put out music from time
Yeah.
to time, but
But
it's not my.
your main thing though is not music
Nah, it's
anymore.
not. No,
So it's photography and videography,
that's it.
right? So, I met you through word of mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we first kind of met. And you shot, me and my kids,
Mm-hmm.
photos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a lot of questions when it comes to like photographies and stuff like that. And I kind
Okay.
of want to see what you think about it. And it's funny because I seen somebody posted that, and you probably seen it.
What's
That
that?
like they kind of photography and videography, whatever. And it was just like they was frustrated because people don't think that photography and videography is a career. And it was like when he wanted to get into doing it, it was like people was like, "Oh, it ain't no money in there. Like that's not a real career."
Yeah.
Like, like nobody like he didn't really have no support when he really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Did you run into that? Like when you really like with your friends and family, when you really wanted to go out and say, "I'm gonna start my own production photography
Yeah.
videography company." Did you have support or did people be like, ah,
Nah.
that's not real?
Yeah, I have support now. I got a best friend. One of my best friends. His name is I call him Easy, but basically, I would start every business in college. Like I had so many different businesses. So and it was just hustles. We call them business, but it's really hustles. Like I
Right,
would wash your car for you, cut your hair for you. I shut down, a couple days just to cut hair, and
right.
then I'll turn around and do, some other things or whatever. So when I decided to transition into photography, he was just like, "Bro, you just don't stop. Like you're gonna do anything." You know what I'm saying? And so I think at that point, yeah, this transition of doing photography, I think the product showed itself. So I think when they seen the product, it was just like, all right, if Rail do something, Rail don't just do it halfway. He go full throttle with it. And if anybody know me, I'm very particular. Like, so I'm not gonna do something that's just gonna make me look foolish because I'm looking at it from a consumer's perspective and from a creative perspective.
Right.
Because if you go to, if you it's always like if I would have done it, this is how I would do it, and that's how I always approach business. So I feel like I got support. I feel like I got support
Today.
starting out.
So to me, I feel like you're a household name in Arizona now.
I appreciate it.
Um, I think that, I notice like when I'm on social media, anything like that, the minute somebody make a post about, hey, I'm looking for photography, if you see something with 50, 60 comments, half of those gonna be people tagging you. How do you think, or why do you think people vouch for you so much?
I honestly think it's because of customer service. It's because of personalities. I think that at the end of the day, a photographer, videographer can do a great job. We live in an era now where everybody, social media, AI, all of those things can just provide a good product, right?
Hmm.
But I think that being personable and actually being able to like relate and kind of give them an experience, I think that is the separator between like just shooting photos and things like that. And when you find your niche, like when you find your niche of like what your style is, I think people buy into that brand. It's just like Nike, just like Adidas. Are you gonna buy into something that you trust and feel like that you've seen consistent results every single time?
Okay. So when you look at um prices and when you compare like your prices to other people's
Mm,
prices,
mm.
do you say
Yesterday's price.
do you feel like your price is equal average of people in the industry, or do you think your price is a little bit more higher, or
No, I feel like my price could still go up. Like it could still go up because I feel like value has no price. And I hate to say it like that, but value really has no price. Like that's like almost saying like, you know, uh can you really compare LeBron James to Steph? Like that's it's two different types of value. One person
right?
shoot threes, another person is just an all around type of person. So when we talking about photography or videography, the value of what you bring to the table separates yourself from your skill level sometimes. And then sometimes your skill level separates yourself from being popular on social media. You get what I'm saying?
Mm.
So I think for me it's been a result of good work, good person. I'm almost like a LeBron James in a sense. Like I'm a all around type of person. I'm not like a specialist that has the greatest work ever in this type of field. It's just more so like you buying into the experience and the product at the same time, and the delivery is gonna be there.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I was one of those people that like I ain't believe in spending all that money on photography and videography. I used to be like, man, these fools crazy, man. It's too expensive. And what really made me start appreciating photography and videography more
Mm-hmm.
is when my grandmother passed.
Mm.
I was super, super close to my grandmother. And then when a lot of like crazy things started happening in my life, and then I start realizing I can go back and look at these photos.
Yep.
I can go back and look at these videos.
Yep.
And it was like I can sit back and reminisce. Or when I sit back and go look at the photos that when you first shot my kids,
Yeah.
when my daughter was like 4, she's almost a teenager now.
Yeah.
And when you can go like that stuff is priceless. So at that
Yeah.
point to me, you know, if I can afford it, like I don't have a problem. It doesn't matter what that price is. If I
Yeah.
can afford it,
Yeah.
that's one thing. If I can't afford it, I can't afford it. That doesn't mean that your price is too high for me.
No.
It's just I can't afford it. But I gotta I think I became a greater value and appreciation to videographers and photographers when I started noticing to me how valuable it was, like I said, for to have those everlasting memories of like loved ones and stuff like that.
I put it like this, and this is the problem, like with videographers and photographers. Like we don't get we are, how can I say this? We're humble people, but we are very important. And I hate to say it like that, but when you think about it, and I tell this to my client all the time, like as far as like shooting weddings and things like that, you don't get to keep nothing at that wedding but what I did. You get what I'm saying? I hate to sound like, anything like that, like I'm trying to be me, but as videographers and photographers, we hold a memory that is it goes beyond money. You get what I'm saying? It don't matter if it's your kid. We get to watch your kid grow up. We get to see your kids have kids. We get to do all of these different things and we hold that. So when it comes to value, how can you
So
you get what I'm
so
saying?
what do you say when people be like, "Oh, I got a phone"?
And it's different. It's different. And that's what I said. Like we got NBA photographers, we got G League photographers, we got, you know what I mean? We got iPhone photographers. So it's different. But I'm talking about like when you got a person that actually is polished and poised to do something to separate themselves and at the same time, they reliable. I'm like your therapist. We are so many different things. So when you talk about putting value on it, and then you got to think about it, we got to break all of that stuff down and then put it back. Like, bro, it goes further than your little $200, $300. You get what I'm saying? So it's so much that comes with that, and I think that that's overlooked because of the fact that everybody does have phones and cameras. But like I said, them G League shooters. Like they ain't in the pro league. You get what I'm saying? And
Right,
it's a separate. It's a difference. It's just like going to a Louis Vuitton, right? You go to the store and people brag about spending that money,
right,
right? They brag, oh, I got this purse, I got this and that. But at the end of the day, you probably got a nice person. Your outfit is garbage. Your house is garbage. You probably in debt. You get what I'm saying? So
right.
it depends on what you value. And I think when it comes to photography, I think a really good creative should never they should never shortchange themselves. They should charge their value, and that's just what it is. And if you can't, then you go to the G League. That's what you do.
All right, all right. So, like you said, I want to make sure we keep going and stay on it. So, I know we both kind of talked about our businesses and some
Yes.
kind of things about it. A couple things also I want to just kind of bring up and talk about is just like business overall
Mhm.
and being an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
I think that that's something that a passion of mine. So, couple questions I have for you. So, not particularly talking about any kind of business, whatever.
Mhm.
So, anybody that's kind of watching or looking or whatever the case may be, I want you to give me three of your biggest challenges that you had to go through with starting your business.
Three of my biggest challenges is finding consistent help. When I first started,
Yeah.
of course, it's funding. That's number two, and then number three was probably is the mental transition of waking up every day to actually be responsible for what you bring in. I think those was the three different challenges because you're going from a world of clocking in and clocking out.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's important. You get what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
like we got to make money now. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? So it was a challenge of more so trying to get my name out there,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the same time trying to balance out like how to actually get money because you got to sacrifice before you actually bring in. And then at that point, like I said, the biggest thing was finding consistent help. Like that's the hardest part.
So, what would you say now that you've started? What are the most three challenging things that you conquer now? Being that you're an established business, is it still the same three things when you started as now, as being
No.
more seasoned and established?
Now that I'm seasoned, it's more so about taking off hats. Now it's more so about delegating, giving up responsibility, and actually allowing yourself to like actually be like, all right, you can handle social, you can handle the books, you can handle day to day. I trust y'all with these jobs over here, So it's more so trusting people at this point.
So, why do you think that that's so important to be able to trust people? Do you think that's is that something that you consider valuable on being able to let things go?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. All you have is your name, right? So if somebody was to call up and be like, "Always Thomas did not do a good job," and write that on Google, now you starting to ding me for something I didn't do based off of like me allowing myself to trust somebody with my name, my business, my baby.
Right.
So yeah, you have to trust people. And then secondly, like I mean, let's be honest, ain't nobody gonna do the job exactly like you. They're gonna do a version of themselves, but they're not gonna do it just like you. So signing off on that person to be like, yo, I trust Rube to go do this while I go do that, like it's fingers crossed, but once you do that, now I give you so much more. Like I unlock so much more for you, and moving forward, yeah, it's a trust thing. I know I can trust you now, so I'm gonna rely on you a little bit more. That's what it is.
All right. So you said too, one of the things in the beginning was funding.
Yeah,
So how was you able to get around the funding aspect of it? So from what I seen is when I went in there just to try to look for some podcast mics, I almost turned around and went to the pawn shop. I didn't know how freaking
expensive.
expensive like all of that equipment and stuff is. So for you, like, how would you able to get the funding? Is it something that you just like got a piece here, got a piece there? Was you able to go get a loan? Was you
Yeah,
able to like did you start off with used equipment?
yeah,
Like how was you able to be able to secure funding
yeah.
to be able to start your
I
business?
maxed out every credit card. No, I'm joking. No, so what I did was I did it the old school way. You learn your equipment until it no longer serves you. And that's exactly what I did. So I shot on the same gear until I perfect my craft. Cause it's just like driving an old school car or a old stick shift. Like you ain't gonna start in no Ferrari. You're gonna start in a little hoopty with a stick shift
Mm.
until you figure that out. So it was the same way. I had a Rebel XTI. Now, if anybody in the photo world know, that's a I went back and bought that camera just to like frame it. So I'm putting it in my office. But that was what I started with, and it was a crop sensor. And if I couldn't get what I needed, I backed up. If I used the same lens. I had a 50 millimeter. And I had a flash, and I learned my craft. And from there, I would take a percentage of each sale that I got to save up for the next piece until I got the camera that I needed, and then I got a certain amount of lenses that I needed. And at that point, once I got and it was still the cheap version, but once I perfected my craft, then the money started coming because it was never about the camera equipment. It was more so about sharpening my eye. So now, when I get that newer camera equipment, it's like it's on autopilot at this point. That's just the way I did it. Everybody don't
Okay.
do it that way. People max out their credit cards and try to get the big shebang and not know. But I think that the biggest thing that I did was, like I said, I trained on my equipment until it made the
It
money
didn't
for me.
serve. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would do that.
No.
A lot of
No.
people gonna like borrow money from mama and sister.
Yeah. But you gotta remember, this is the tech world. So your camera is good for like 2 to 3 years. So it's just like why you keep chasing the same bodies or chasing all of these cameras to look cool, you could be perfecting your craft. And at that point, now the budgets can go up. Like, now you can get a $50,000 job with those little cameras, crush it, and now you can go out and buy whatever you need. You get what I'm saying? But I was always a reinvestor. So like I like to invest. I like to know knowledge. That's why I'm so picky with all of this stuff because it's just like I get a joy off of learning as opposed to all of the latest stuff. But it
Gotcha.
does help to have better gear to make your jobs easy once you learn what you know your skill.